All right, we are doing part two of our April 1st, 2024 show. I'm glad you're able to join us tonight. We're going to spend some time, hopefully, talking about relationships. And I'm going to post in here the link if you want to call in, that you can call in at. So let me just put that back in my hand. So I'll put that in the chat box for those of you that would like to delete that comment. Delete that comment. So hopefully we'll have a person or two give a call in using that link that's in the chat box on YouTube and Facebook for those of you that have that. But also it's underneath my name here on the screen. So a friend was talking recently about relationships and trying to figure out what are some things that we could potentially suggest to people as they're trying to make relationships work. And I think there's commentary that we could share about what is it that you should be doing in the middle, the beginning of the relationship, and in the middle to keep it going. And if it is coming to its end, what are some potentially things you want to keep in mind at the different stages of a relationship? And I think it's important just to keep that in mind, is that every relationship has those three components. There's the beginning, there's the middle, and there's an end. And sometimes there is a rush between the beginning, the middle, and the end, and it, had a very quick start and a very quick finish. And other times, it's decades that span the period of time for a relationship. But I think that the concern that people have is, what are some of the things that we should be keeping in mind as we start a relationship, and what are some things we want to do to maintain it, and how do we know that it is potentially run its course? So I think let's first start with what are some of the things that we want to look for at the very beginning of a relationship. And there is a universal construct that I believe every situation has these components. Every conversation, every interaction has these four components, which is a sense of accountability, a sense of responsibility, a feeling about what the future holds, and also you can figure out how much hope exists in that circumstance. So again, I think often we should take the time to figure out, this other person as well as ourselves. How accountable do we want to be? Sometimes people tell you from the very beginning, I'm not looking for you to be accountable to you. I'm not looking to be responsible. I'm going one day at a time, so that my hope is just to get through the next day. My future is very limited. So people are often answering those four questions, and what we are generally doing is, covering our eyes and our ears and not listening to what they're wanting to share with us. But those four things are so critically important, and so I'll put them in the chat. So you're looking for accountability, responsibility. They're feeling about the future, and hope. And so those are the kinds of things that we should be paying attention to and looking for. And again, we refer to them as the universal construct, that everything that you're doing, everything that you're saying is built along those 4 parameters. And our job is to look out for them, and let the answers be the answers, and not the answers that we want them to be, but the answers that they are. So I believe that that's something, and often lots of situations will not pass that test. The answer is, do not proceed forth, but often because of our eagerness, we're going to run forth and proceed, even though those 4 things are no. So I see that Cheryl McLeod has joined us, so I'm going to ask her to come on with us in about 30 seconds. We're playing with this idea of having a relationships show on Wednesdays or Thursdays, and we have the working title of the show. I'll put it in the chat as well. It's called Two Sisters and a Brother. So we're thinking about naming the show that, and Cheryl and her sister Andrea and I, who was their former foster brother, but we have created our own little crazy family here. So you can't tell them I'm not their brother, and you can't tell me that they're not my sister. So we're thinking about that as a Thursday night show. So we're not sure about that, but we're going to give it a try and see how it goes. So without further ado, I'll have Ms. Cheryl McLeod join us. How are you, Cheryl?
Good evening, Dr. Williams.
How are you?
Fine, yourself?
Good. Thank you for coming on in very short notice. Our original guest, who I had blew off last week, blew me off today. So as they say, paybacks, I won't say the word.
That's right. I know what you mean.
So hopefully we'll get her back on in the next couple of weeks. But Cheryl, we were talking about, I'll put it on the screen here, about the universal construct which you and I have talked about before, that we should be looking to see whether there's accountability, responsibility. What is the person telling us about their sense of the future? What are they telling us about their sense of hope? That we should be patrolling and listening out for that. And if the answer is not affirmative, we should run and run very fast. What are your thoughts about those 4 things, and as you think about them in relationships that you have had, and more importantly, in relationships that you want to have? What do you think of those 4 things and the role of them in relationships?
Well, I think that, first of all, you have to reach the same page. Make sure that the relationship and your goals they don't have to be the same goals, but they need to be that you're on the same page, and that you're looking to have a relationship that is enrichment to your life, and that there's no games being played, and that it's transparency. That's what I think about that. Transparency needs to be very clear, and you have to have the courage to know what you want, what you look for in a relationship, what you would like to have, and how it can be successful. And those are things that come to mind when I'm dealing in a relationship.
So the other half sister, and half of the sisters group is joined, Andrea. So Andrew, we're talking about accountability, responsibility, the future, and the hope. I refer to that as the universal construct.
Yes.
Cheryl added some other stuff that she thinks is important as well, and I share with the group about this idea we have about the Thursday or Wednesday night show of Two Sisters and a Brother.
Right.
So just what are your thoughts about what we've talked about so far?
I use the universal constructs in my dating life.
Andre We've had one date. I don't think that's a life. I think that's
Don't, Dr. Williams. Let's
It was a good
keep
day.
one date doesn't make a. Again, I'll let you tell your story. But go ahead. Sorry.
No, what I like about the universal constructs is the accountability part. A lot of times when you're like out dating or getting to know someone, you really don't know what box to put them in, because a person will just tell you story after story. You know, I'm an amazing person. I do this. I work here. I mean, and the story will sound so good. But when it comes time to, all right, so what time are we meeting? Oh, I'll meet you on Friday at 5:00. And then you don't get a call. Oh, you know, I had to go do something with my mother. Oh, and then this happened. And then you get all of these stories, and then you have to say, well, are they just busy or they don't want to be bothered? But I think the real word is, are they accountable? And I think once you start putting some of those words, accountable, responsibility, then you're like, yeah, it's really no hope here. I don't see a future here. And then you complete the universal constructs, and you're like, all right, on to the next.
But at the same time, do you feel that you're giving it enough time? Sometimes people don't want to, give you everything on day one, and they want to, to get to know you.
Yeah, well, that's not a good way to get to know somebody. Accountability is number one, and I don't have time to waste. As you always say, Andre, you're getting old. You don't have no time to waste.
Right.
So yeah, I'm taking heed to that. I don't have time.
That's right. And I also think it's good to have a support team behind you, just in case you might miss something.
Yes.
You might miss something. They could, like Andrea said, the stories sound so good, but you need to have a support system that you can run this by. You may be dating that person alone by yourself, but you need to, and they need to know that there's a support system for the games that you may think you're going to play. It's not going to get by like say for myself. It's not going to get by me, because I'm going to run it by my one brother and my one sister. I'm going to run it by them. I'm going to bring certain things up and I'm going to be questioned by them.
Yes.
So I'm going to be questioned by, is this thing right? You need that support sometimes, because you think, oh, I'll let that slide by. Oh, it's okay. No, we don't have time for the slide by. Wow. You have to be accountable for your actions. And if you feel like, oh, I'm a little weak at this time, or I'm going to let that slide by, you have someone you can talk to so they can encourage you, because encouragement is good. It worked for me. And may not work for everybody else, but encouragement is good so the person can stay on top of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And not allow things to slide by.
And Cheryl and Andrea, I think that you bring up a unique situation, and I think it's important for us to share with people. We spend a lot of time talking to each other as brothers and sisters about what's going on, and we scare people away because of what we do.
Mm-hmm. Especially you.
I never get a second date.
Yeah, because the man I'm dating is scared of you. He's scared of you, but that scare is good. Because he knows that I'm going to tell Nathaniel. I'm going to bring this up to Nathaniel and see his idea about it. Because he's a man. So I want to see his idea about it, so they don't want nothing told on them, so they stay in line. So it works for me.
But everybody doesn't have that. And
I know.
And I think in all honesty, it's taken us a couple of years to get to this particular point in our relationship where we can have the ability to afford each other and to be able to see, often we're not in relationships where people can afford to see our success because they're in competition with us. So I think it's important for us to recognize that's, what we have is not normal, and we work hard at it. I always tell this story on Andrea, that I've, been on this Ozempic regimen for the last 2 months. And so I've lost about 35 pounds. And Andrea makes it very clear, I don't like the skinnier Nat.
Right. I
do. Yeah, I like fat Nat because he eats out a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always say I really appreciated Andrea being able to be honest about her feelings and thoughts, as well as Cheryl about her feelings and thoughts. because a lot of times people would feel those things and not say it. So, sometimes nowadays I'm taking Andre out for dinner, even though I don't want to go out for dinner. I'm just like, hey, I think we've gone out for more dinners since you made that nasty comment to me than we had before. But again, that's the uniqueness of the relationship. And so if people don't have that, how do you create that? I mean, again, not a lot of the times they're talking to your girlfriends or boyfriends or your friends, and they don't have what you want. So like, how could they really afford to see you successful when they don't? They're pulling advice from Get Andre. Sure.
You have to get a team together. You have to what? I've been on this dating thing for a while now, and I don't seem to be picking the right people. And that's when you need people around you to say, all right, well, let me help you.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you come back to me. Like I remember a friend of mine said, oh, I met this guy and he's amazing. And he has a 5-year-old. And I said, you're not doing 5-year-olds. We're not doing 5-year-olds. We're done with that.
So, okay, what's wrong with the 5-year-olds?
I'm too old for a 5-year-old. I don't want to hang out with you and the 5-year-old. That's not where I'm at anymore, right?
And you just had a baby 5 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
And then you start to think like, well, to be great, a 5-year-old keep me young. But what happens that every time it's time to go out and you have to take the 5-year-old and your youngest child is 40? No, I don't want to do it. If I wanted a 5-year-old, I would have had a kid a couple of years back that was 5 years old.
But aren't you limiting the group is already small that you can choose from, but now you're slicing off every other
I'm preserving my mental wealth.
I was getting ready to say,
I'm preserving that. I'm not doing a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my sanity. I'm not going to sacrifice for someone else's 5-year-old. I would like to keep my sanity and the peace that I have within myself. I do not want to raise or bring up no little kids. I don't want to do that. Like Andre, like my youngest is 29 years old. Come on. No one has time for that. I wouldn't want to do that either.
Right.
In all seriousness, I do think that what has happened a lot in our society is the roles are so confused. Grandparents are acting like parents, and parents are acting like the children. And so I think your point of that there's a certain benefit to getting to a certain age. A lot of times we've lost the benefit because other people have lost their sense of responsibility for what they've created.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Yes, Dr. Williams.
Thank you. Oh, Dree called it. Dree said it, Dr. Williams.
What I said?
Yes, Dr. Williams. You know you don't
yeah, Dr. Williams. Okay.
That's one of the things. Andre never calls me Dr. Williams.
I know.
It's always.
Can you put Dr. Andre on there one day?
No, we're not going to lie. We're not going to.
Yeah, you're going to get a doctorate. When you get your doctorate.
Yeah, we're about the truth.
This is the truth podcast.
The truth according to Nat, Andrea, and Cheryl, right?
Right.
But again, I think the roles are so often confused in relationships, and we have to work to try to clarify them. And again, enjoy the benefits of what we've been able to accomplish. One of my children had said, "Oh, one of my grandchildren were acting up. Oh, they could come stay with their grandpa." I said that I wish they would. Nah, I'll coach you from a distance, but no one's moving here. I'm trying to get everybody out of here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it goes back to like if you have people around you, they'll be the ones to kind of pull your coat or just kind of shine a light on like, I don't think this is really for you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are just like this lone survivor out there, just trying to date and getting to know people and navigating that, it gets extremely hard.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of vulnerability that comes with that, especially if you haven't dated in a long time. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're anxious and you're looking forward to this and you can't wait.
This is going to work out.
But you got to be careful still. You have to be careful and check out who you're dealing with. And if you need a deeper check, contact Dr. Williams.
Because he goes deep.
He goes all the way in. So
all the way.
So
all your records.
Yes. So you need a name, and that's it. And a date of birth.
So let's talk about that for a second. How deep do you think a person should go, and especially at the very beginning? I see a lot of people saying, "Hey, come on, I ain't running their names. I ain't Googling.
Right.
I'm not let's wait till date 3 or something. We need to. What are your thoughts about how long you would wait to begin checking out a person that you're starting a relationship with?
Within the first 30 days.
Okay.
I would do probably 2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
I would probably do 2 weeks.
30 days should not elapse.
Now,
if you're really interested.
If the dinners are good, we go on 30 days because I don't want to mess up my food flow.
Right.
Yeah.
Dating a killer.
Someone says, I think, honestly, you guys are being very generous. You have about 30 minutes. You don't have
30 minutes.
This is a dangerous world. So exactly. Check them out before the first. Just give me again. I'll just subtly ask, what's your name? What's your last name? Is that your government name? I'm a Capricorn. What are you? And I'm gonna get. I'm just.
Because you can look up that date of birth. You could get around to it.
As they're talking, I'm putting that stuff right in Truth Finder so that I can find the truth. And then often what I like to hear is when they're talking back to me, I want to hear, oh, they did have a bankruptcy. Oh, they did live in Texas. If there's some stuff that they've told me that doesn't add up to it, I'm not the person that they want to be. Again, you're going to cut yourself a lot of slack. And as Cheryl said, I have a membership in Truth Finder.
If you can't get it, just call him. Call Dr. Williams. And he has no problem in doing that. No, it's not. He has a membership. Therefore, it's no extra being paid. It's already paid. And he's going to check it out. And then you can thank you in the end. Like, thank you in the end.
But do you guys feel that sometimes by doing this kind of stuff on the front end, you're missing opportunities? People are not perfect. They're not. They've made. So what? A person had a bankruptcy. So what? A person moved 12 times. So what? A person was arrested for a little prostitution 20 years ago.
Right.
What's the problem?
You still want to know. It may not be heavy enough to stop the dating, but you at least want to know because you're looking at stuff that's in the past. And we don't want to hold the past if they change their lives from that time. You don't want to hold that over them because that's over with. And if there was any paying for it, they already paid for it. But at least And then, go ahead, Dre.
I think it's a way that you can also verify. A lot of, I have people tell me stuff. They tell me a lot of stuff. I don't even understand why, but they tell me stuff, and Dr. William and I will look it up, and it's like, you lied about that now,
Right.
And then it tells a little bit about your character. Just tell who you are.
Right. Say who you are.
Yeah. And then, get that out.
And that's one of the things I've learned about liars, and even myself, who occasionally is a liar. Not too often, but like once a day. Is that I've learned you have to appreciate liars because they tell you the way things should have been. So that's what I've learned to embrace them, is that at least how it should have gone down. It didn't go down that way, but I appreciate you. At least that that's how it should have been. And so it's really tough because often I have a friend, Diane, who gets so upset when people lie because she thinks that they're playing her stupid or perceiving that she's stupid. And really,
she's not.
Yeah, it's the stupidity is on them, not on you.
Right.
But again, a lot of people, just hate being taken advantage of that particular way. But a lot of times people wrestle with feeling comfortable in their own skin. And a lot of times those lies are again trying to put themselves the way they would have hoped it is. But as Cheryl said, we just you are who you are. It is what it is, and we still have time. If we've been given another day. We've been given another chance, so let's get moving. And
at least you were honest. Yeah, I think because the guy I'm dating, he just tells me because he fears that Nathaniel will look him up. So he has that fear in him, so he just says the truth. He just says it because he knows I can find it out.
He's gonna. And I used to play this game with people. I stopped doing it, but I would call them up and I know what you did. And I'm just testing to see if the difference between right and wrong, and why don't you tell me what you did? And they're like, what is it about? I said, you know what it's about. And they would start telling me stuff that I had no
idea. That's right. Because they figure you already know it. So therefore, if I lie, I'm going to be caught right here. So I'm just going to say it.
Right.
And I think, as you said, Cheryl, the transparency,
it's important.
And I've tried to make it real clear. I'm not judging you. I'm just judging the resources that, again, if we, we're going to get together and there was a bankruptcy in your past, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just that I just don't know you're not going on the credit application. So we're going to have to. So I don't want to be embarrassed because we go to the dealer and we're trying to get a car, asking for your credit, and you're sitting there acting all shady. I'd rather just know before. You know what? This person's here just for the ride.
It's a support system, but not. I don't want his name used on anything here. Right. That's it.
Exactly.
And I also think one of the things that you have said to me before, Dr. Williams, about judging a person, you said it's not judging a person, it's having discernment.
Right.
Can you explain a little bit about what discernment means?
Surely. It just means that so I'm not concerned about you. I can discern and figure stuff out. If I don't figure stuff out, I'm going to be concerned. Right. So it's just recognizing which I have to be aware. So what do I want to do? Do I want to be concerned about this person, or do I want to figure things out with them? And often people are giving you 10% of the truth, 5% of the truth. Often they're not giving you a lot of truth. So you're trying to figure stuff out is a lot of work. And what I try to tell people that are going to be, whether professionally or personally, let's just not waste the time for us to try to figure too much stuff out here, because I can make a risk of getting it wrong, and then you're also going to make a risk of taking advantage and seeing my kindness as weakness. And so we don't get confused. And the other piece is that intuition. A lot of times, it's free advice, and part of your discernment process. It's just to say, sometimes you can be wrong, but I would say often, in the high 90s percentage-wise, your intuition is there's some truth in every lie, and there's something if you're feeling like, I'm going to bring something up. We went to Florida. I had $100 in my wallet. I went to the bathroom. I came back. My $100 was gone. My feeling is Andrea took my $100 out of my.
When?
He's lying. He's so full of it.
Yeah. Was I there?
No.
Okay.
Oh, if you were there, I would have known exactly.
No, you would not have known. I don't mess around with your stuff. Okay? So that's what you're supposed to know. Just like I know about you and your finger.
And we're not talking about that online.
I know. As far as I know about you and your finger, you should know that I'm not gonna do that.
I know about your fingers, right?
Yeah, you should know. Yeah, I know about her fingers, and she will not use them over here.
Oh my Lord.
That's right.
But
That's right.
That intuition that often we have about circumstances and people and places and things, I just think that we don't often heed that, and it's our body and our mind and our spirit telling us that something is wrong. And sometimes we go into places and our spirit wasn't settled. We deal with people, we're touching things, and again, I think that often our body and our mind is brighter about danger, and I don't think people understand that about the brain. Your brain has one job, which is to keep you safe.
That's right.
That's what your brain's job is, and often we don't want to listen to the brain doing its work. And
I think it's important for people to learn from different things they went through in the past. And when you see those flags, you cannot ignore them.
So, Cheryl, you bring up a good point about, and Andrea, you and I have talked ad nauseum about people's trauma,
right,
and all they've gone through. Why don't you go, Cheryl and Andrea, talk a little bit about the trauma and as you look at relationships, what you've learned about trauma in relationships?
I learned to not trust everything at face value. Just because the person is saying it doesn't mean that they're actually doing it. I need for the words to add up with your actions, because if it doesn't match your actions, it's blatantly that there's some fraud going on. You're
Wow.
not who you really say you are. And you're doing things underhanded, thinking that I'm not going to see it. I don't know if that has anything to do with my glaucoma or not. But I understand that your actions must match your words. And don't think that you could just say words and we're going to gloss over it because I've not looked at actions. I've let, and then when I looked at them, I've let them slip by until something traumatic happened where I'm like wide awake. I would say, don't sleep. Don't sleep. Don't sleep, because if you do that, you're going to miss some things. You have to make sure that those actions match a person's words. And just because they say that that's what it is, doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is.
Wow. And Audrey, I want to hear your thoughts as well. But Cheryl, before you conclude your comments, is do you ever get to rest? Like, do you ever have to, like, I can see all this attention in the beginning of the relationship, but can you ever really get like
You can't, I don't know if you get all the way comfortable. There is some times that you'll be able to rest, but me personally, I'll rest with one eye open, just one eye open, just to make sure. One eye open. No, I would,
right, because we
I
right
will,
there.
I try to give you the benefit of the doubt, but you must execute your actions to eliminate my doubt.
Wow. All right, Andre, your thoughts on this?
So, I think for me, I want to say it's twofold. I think past trauma has allowed me to make a lot of bad decisions. You just want to get it right. And so when you go out with that mindset of just getting it right because of your past trauma, I don't know why I'm like hiding away from the thing. Yeah. So when you dealing with past trauma or unresolved trauma, it'll make you just pick somebody. So you'll start picking all the wrong people because you haven't resolved what happened to you. So I have to get this right. So I'll pick you. And then that doesn't work. Okay, well, I'm going to get this right. I'm going to pick you. And so you just start picking people. And then you realize I'm not a good picker. And why is that? My picker is off, right? So then you have to do some research, and then you have to ask some questions and maybe get to a professional to see, why do I keep picking the wrong people? I also understand now, because of that, I'm not just going to pick anybody. And I sometimes I meet guys and they'll say, God, I want to date you. And I say, yeah, I want to date me too. And the old Andrea would have said, okay, come on, let's try it out. But now I'm like, no, you can't just sell me on anything, right? I don't want to buy the Brooklyn Bridge anymore. I got about 8 Brooklyn Bridges in the backyard right now. So I'm mindful of that. And at the other part of me understands now that everybody has sustained some type of trauma. And because of that, I'm looking to see what was your childhood trauma, because somehow it's going to fall back on me. Somehow I'm going to deal with it. So I don't know if it's something with your parents. I don't know if they, were abusive. I don't know if they stole your voice. So now you can't speak up because they silenced you as a child. And so now you have a man who's like, talk.
Don't want to talk.
So you're not going to get no reaction, and any type of back and forth is a conflict. And one of the things you say is, are you conflict able, right? And the first thing they'll say is, oh, I don't want to fight. It's like, whoa, it's not a fight. I'm just trying to have a dialogue. This is just dialogue. But as soon as they start to feel something inside, this is a fight. Now they have to retreat. So I'm mindful of that behavior, and I'm mindful of my own childhood trauma. So it makes me very, mindful now of picking somebody so that I don't pick the wrong person. Right? Because
there are some people, I'm sure, feeling like, oh, my picker is off, but so is the pickings. So I've heard people say like the whole state of North Carolina is bad, or the whole city of New York, or like they've just dismissed everybody. Is that really true that everybody is?
It's correct. I say now I have to wait for the next batch to come out. This is a bad batch they got out here. I'm waiting for the next batch, okay? So I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna have my best life and laugh and enjoy myself, but I'm waiting for the next batch because this batch is a bad batch.
Where's the batch coming from, Andrea?
From the 1970s.
Oh,
these are 70s babies. This batch is bad. I gotta mind my business.
But seriously, Cheryl is fortunate now that she's in a relationship. Are you setting a time period on for yourself of like, hey, in 2024, 2025,
No, I'm not. Someone asked me that today. I'm not setting a time period. I'm okay. I'm pursuing my own goals, but I'm keeping my eye out.
Yeah, me too. And I'm strong. Like right now, I feel strong in my relationship.
I can multitask.
Right.
But
I feel strong in a relationship, but I do also know how to shut it down in the event it's not doing what it needs to do. See, before I didn't do that, but now through my trauma, I know I'm well aware how to do it.
Let me ask you a question. Let's say I'm the guy who wants to always have in the background there's going to be a shutdown. Why is that?
The government. We got to do it.
That is holding up. That's where accountability comes.
We got to shut it down like the government.
We cannot, or give a fair warning. Fair warning when something comes up, a situation comes up. I'm not going to do this.
But what is wrong with positizing this and saying whatever comes, we're gonna work it out. We're gonna get through this. It's gonna be okay. Why does it have to be that?
Because
there's an opportunity for that. I'm sure there's opportunity for that, but it's a very small window. So if it's a very small window because no one wants to go through stuff again. So
this is the size of the window. Wait a minute.
Right. Very little window.
It's a little window.
You will get one small window.
And if you mess up, it's over.
So you can check it out. You can try to, make it through the window and try to get it back on track. But after that, it's a no-go.
And then here's my question to you guys. So if you meet somebody and you start to get that feeling, I don't know, when should you call it quits? What is your deciding factor to call it quits? I'm asking, let me ask you that, Dr. Nat. When should you call it quits?
I think the first thing is that research has shown that most relationships start out as an obsession. And I think
you said this before.
I don't think people understand that. And so your ability to make logical decisions is somewhat impaired because you're obsessed with the person, the idea, the situation. And so I think it's important to just make sure you're mindful of that you're starting the relationship with a sense of euphoria that cannot be maintained. It's not going to sustain itself. Just allow yourself that period of time and whatever you can to come back down to some level of reality. Their breath doesn't stink when you first. Their feet don't stink. Their armpits. Nothing's
wrong.
Yeah, but eventually, like, where did this odor come from? Well, it's been there, but because you were obsessed, you didn't see it. So I think that once you come off that high. I think you need to look at the facts, and I think both of you talked about
get down to the nitty gritty of the nitty gritty of it.
The stuff that can't be negotiated, that can't be explained. The circumstances that stand on their own, and then some of these things that people have created are just not justifiable. And again, Andrea, I think when you have some circumstances for baby mamas or for baby daddies, I that may be a really tough one. And
I'm not dealing with that.
And I'm number 5.
See, right away.
I don't want to do that. It's like
there are some things that we just have to figure, like, how does it? And the other thing I've learned, and my poor kids, if I say to my kids, I'm pulling out an easel or flip chart, they will disappear like roaches with a light. But I just think sometimes we need to put stuff on a piece of paper. I just want to see this timeline, and and where you've gone and what you do. I just want to see it. And like, what do you want to do? And you want to be a fireman and an astronaut, and you want a tow truck company. And like, I just want to see where all of this is going to, because the average, age of an astronaut is 27 and you're 47. So could you explain to me where the astronaut lifespan is going? So I just think laying it out, really asking a person to draw it out, because a lot of these things, because they've never been written, they will never happen. So
And you can also use that writing in relationship. Write down your pros and cons.
Sure.
Write down the things that you noticing and how's that going to work and stuff like that. Write down your pros and cons, things that you definitely will not tolerate, and the cons that's good in a relationship.
Here's an example, Cheryl. Just again, that inventory. I did an interview with someone today, and I said, "Hey, out of a scale of 1 to 10, how did this interview go from your standpoint?" And they said an 8. And and what was it about that made it an 8? Well, this schedule you're talking about of 24/7, 365, you lost a couple of points there. And I said, now let me share with you how I think this interview went. And I thought it was a 6. But I think often we don't allow for ourselves to have that honest conversation. As an end of the date, how was the date? Understanding that we're going through the obsession period. How was tonight's date? Oh, it was a 12. Okay, and why was it a 12? And, or was it 2? But I think often we need those conversations to aid us in really being able to make it the best it can be, and really force that transparency that you talked about. But every problem we're ever going to have, I saw something that the Pope had said as he requested one more time for there to be a ceasefire in the Middle East. He said that, war does not accomplish anything. All the wars are going to end in a conversation. So why are we wasting the time, losing lives along the way?
Right.
So reality, and there's so many couples, when they do get together, they go through a rocky period. One person's on the couch and one person's in the room. And sometimes that's the case for 3, 4, 5 months, if not days or weeks. It's wasted time. It's going to end with the conversation. So just let's get to the conversation sooner or later. And prayerfully, it gets us in a better spot than we're in at this particular point. Well, ladies, we are at 42 minutes of this. Of this craziness. So as we
it was good. See, Dr. Williams.
So as we said,
2 sisters and one brother.
And a brother. Yeah, I don't. What did we agree? Was it Wednesday nights, Thursday nights?
It was Thursday nights.
Thursday nights.
Can I have a glass of wine while I'm doing this?
No, non-alcoholic. This is
a non-alcoholic podcast.
Dr. Williams does not drink.
Yeah, exactly. If you wanted me to start drinking, trust me, you don't want it.
We don't.
Okay, so no wine.
No wine.
No, just like this.
Exactly.
Straight up, regular.
Cheryl and Andre, I thank you so much for
Oh, no problem, Dr. Williams. Anytime.
I look forward to Thursday.
Yeah, what time?
8 o'clock. Oh my God! And this Allie.
Hi, Allie. I love you, girl.
I love you too.
You must to stop traveling so much because we're a little concerned about
She's gonna be our guest on our next show. Let her answer some questions.
Oh my! Oh, yeah, exactly.
In a relationship?
We'll get a fourth. Yeah, exactly. She's in
a relationship.
She's in a relationship, out of relationships. She is whatever the wind is blowing.
Don't be saying it like that, Dr. Williams. Talking about my niece.
Well, that's my girl. That's
I know. Your daughter.
No, you can't say that, Cheryl. You can't say that because hello.
I know, right, because we're sisters and brothers, right?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Okay, all right. Oh yeah.
Okay.
This will be more like the Hills Have Eyes kind of podcast.
Well, thank you. I normally have to do graphics, but you guys did a wonderful job with your little squares and other stuff tonight.
We got all the information right here.
Oh my God!
You're shutting it down like the government.
That's right.
Love
yeah. Truth Finder. We love you.
We'll be on.
Truth Finder. All right. So I know there's this thing that you're supposed to say. So if you like us, subscribe down below. Press the button. We're here, guys. Come check us out.
We're here for you.
See you next Thursday.
Thursday.
We'll see.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what the hell you want to call the last 44 minutes, but it is what it is. Attempt to make up for our last last show last week that we didn't have. So I think it's a good start, and I do hope you'll join us on Thursdays when we do the show, Two Sisters and a Brother. All right, till then, take care.